If you continue to think the same thoughts, make the same choices, and repeat the same actions, you will keep creating the same experiences. You will continue to feel the same emotions. Let's consider this conservatively. If you maintain this pattern for 10 years, it becomes increasingly automatic, increasingly unconscious. Your personality shapes your personal reality. That's the essence of it. Your personality is composed of your thoughts, actions, and feelings. If you persist in thinking, acting, and feeling the same way, your personality remains unchanged, and so does your personal reality. To transform your life, to alter your personal reality, you must first change your personality. You need to reflect on your thoughts and decide whether you truly want to hold on to them. The change begins when you become intensely conscious of those thoughts. When you are so aware of them that you refuse to let them slip by unnoticed. You catch yourself in patterns of complaining, blaming, making excuses, and feeling sorry for yourself. Nay, this has been your unconscious programming. The instant you become aware of these unconscious behaviors, you step out of the program. You are only in the program while you remain unconscious. Breaking free from these programs demands a tremendous amount of energy and awareness. Then there are those emotions that we feel every single day that are so familiar to us that we don't even know what they are. We just feel guilty. We don't even know what guilt is, it's just how we feel. The stronger the emotions we have from experiences in our life, the more altered we are inside. When the chemistry changes inside of us, the brain narrows the focus on the cause and takes a snapshot or a series of snapshots. That's called a long-term memory. So it makes total sense that every time a person relives that event in their life, they're making the same chemistry in their brain and body. Their body is literally believing it's living that experience over and over again. Now the body's so in the past that it's the mind of the past. So then, the act of becoming so conscious that you don't go unconscious is a changing of consciousness. How many times do we have to forget until we stop forgetting and start remembering? That is the moment of change. We experience 3 fundamental types of stress in our physical bodies. First, there's physical stress. This includes trauma, accidents, injuries, and falls. Next, we encounter chemical stress, such as exposure to toxins, pesticides, pollutants, viruses, bacteria, hangovers, or nutritional deficiencies. Finally, we have emotional stress, which could stem from family tragedies, car accidents, financial pressures like second mortgages, single parenting, or even the complexities of managing a 401k. Each of these stressors, whether physical, chemical, or emotional, disrupts the body's natural state of homeostasis. This is the state of balance and regulation where the body strives to return. Our inherent capacity is to constantly seek this equilibrium, to restore order. This process is automatic and is governed by the autonomic nervous system, a system that works below the level of our conscious thinking. This part of the brain, known as the chemical brain, emotional brain, limbic brain, or mammalian brain, oversees essential functions like regulating blood sugar, hormone levels, and digestive enzymes. When the body is not overstressed, it continuously works to repair itself and restore balance. However, if stressors repeatedly knock the body out of this balance, this disruption becomes the new norm. Over time, this persistent imbalance leads to disease because the autonomic system loses its ability to maintain order. The system, therefore, becomes compromised and eventually breaks down. In cases of physical trauma, the body has the capacity to heal itself if given rest. With chemical imbalances, interventions like pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, vitamins, minerals, herbs, or intermittent fasting can help the body shift its energy towards growth and repair. Yet the most significant factor to address is emotional stress. 75 to 90% of every person that walks into a healthcare facility in the Western world walks in because of psychological or emotional stress. Pretty much 4 out of 5 people. What's really causing their health condition is that they're emotionally stressed and emotionally out of balance. Okay, so what are the emotions that are connected to the stress hormones? It's anger, hatred, frustration, competition, control, judgment, envy, jealousy, insecurity, fear, anxiety, worry, angst, hopelessness, powerlessness, guilt, shame, and unworthiness. Psychology calls these normal human states of consciousness. These are altered states of consciousness. Our response to someone or something in our environment, or our response to our own thought, an image of what could happen in the future, or a memory of the past, could actually cause chemicals to be secreted from the brain. This causes the body to believe it's living in that same environment of fear or danger. So that thought, when you're seeing that thought in your mind or remembering that image, it's the image and the emotion. It's the thought and the feeling. It's the stimulus and response that's immediately conditioning the body into that state of imbalance. So it's a scientific fact that the long-term effects of the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons and create disease. If you can turn on that stress response just by thought alone, your thoughts are literally going to make you sick. That's the greatest example of the mind-body connection. So the next fundamental question is, okay, if our thoughts could make us sick, is it possible that my thoughts could make me well? Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to have to manage my attention. I'm going to have to manage my energy because where I place my attention is where I place my energy. I'm going to have to inhibit that thought that has conditioned the body to subconsciously be the mind. The body is so objective that it does not know the difference between the real-life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that a person is fabricating by thought alone. To the body, it's exactly the same. The body operates under the illusion of a constant threat. It perceives itself as being chased by a predator or as being in an offensive situation where attack is necessary. The body is in a state of perpetual readiness, perpetually out of homeostasis, and continually imbalanced. It's caught in emergency mode, driven by the fight or flight response. This is the realm of the autonomic nervous system, where enormous amounts of energy are mobilized for perceived threats, whether real or imagined. Every thought, feeling, image, emotion, stimulus, and response ingrains the body into the mind of that emotion. The body becomes conditioned and ultimately addicted. This addiction manifests as a problem because individuals become hooked on their own thoughts. They become addicted to a life they don't even desire. The response to a coworker, boss, or ex may give a rush of energy or adrenaline, and this rush gets associated with certain problems or conditions in their lives. When faced with the need to change and manage attention and emotion, it's akin to breaking any addiction. Cravings emerge. The body yearns to revert to its conditioned state, clinging to the familiar past, to the known. It tells the mind, "You can't do this. It's too difficult. You'll never change. This is uncomfortable. I don't like this." Return to the same choices, the same actions, the same experiences, the same emotions. This is how people seamlessly revert to their old identities. We only accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts that resonate with our emotional state. We will never accept, believe, or surrender to thoughts that diverge from our emotional state. So you could say, "I'm abundant, I'm eternal, I'll live forever, I'm healthy and wealthy." If you've programmed your body into that emotional state, it's going to say, "You're not that." Take a person whose identity is resentment. Their identity is anger, frustration, and betrayal. If you ask them why they are this way, they'll say, "I'm this way because of this event that happened to me 15 years ago." But the stronger the emotion we feel from some event, the more altered we feel inside of us. The more that chemical continuity is disrupted from something that surprises us and alters our state, the more the brain freezes a frame and takes a snapshot. That's called a memory. But the problem is that we think about that event over and over again after it happens. We're producing the same chemistry in the brain and body as if the event were occurring. So the body is conditioned literally into the past. You say a person's resentful about everything. They're seeing their life through the lens of resentment, frustration, and anger. Everything's upsetting them. Well, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say, okay, now it's an addiction. You've got to change that. The person goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now you've got to get out of the bleachers and onto the playing field. Say, okay, these emotions could literally have something to do with my health. I'm just saying, if I stop feeling these emotions, what if I start feeling different emotions? What emotions can truly bring me happiness? Right now, the emotions I'm feeling are deeply negative. The memories I hold are causing me distress. Is it possible to envision a future where I feel differently? How would I experience my future if it were to unfold in a positive way? I need to exchange these current emotions for new ones. If I've been immersed in these negative feelings and conditioned my body to align with this mindset, it will require time to shift the chemistry in my body intentionally. I must work to bring my body back into a state of homeostasis and balance. One crucial step is to focus on my breath. By changing my breathing pattern, I can transform my state of being. Practice breathing deeply and consistently. Collaborate with your body to help it relax, creating a sense of safety so that it can embrace new emotions. Even if it takes 3 weeks, the effort will be worthwhile. Begin by genuinely understanding how to feel gratitude. Start by giving to others. Extend your generosity. And as you give, you will begin to experience gratitude. Dedicate just 15 minutes each day to practicing the feeling of gratitude. Our research demonstrates that if you engage in this practice for 4 days, 3 times daily, your body will produce a chemical called immunoglobulin A. This natural flu shot is the most potent immune chemical we possess. There was a 50% increase in the subjects we studied in 4 days. Immunoglobulin went up 50% in 4 days. Where is that chemistry coming from? They're not taking anything. It's coming from within them. What is the emotional signature of gratitude? When you receive something or something wonderful happens to you, you feel grateful. So now, if you're in a state of gratitude, it makes total sense then that you will accept, believe, and surrender the thoughts that are equal to that emotional state. You could actually program your autonomic nervous system to make the pharmacy of chemicals that causes growth and repair to happen in the body. That's exactly what we're discovering. When people understand why they're doing it, the how gets easier. You can assign meaning to the task and switch on the prefrontal cortex. When you switch on that prefrontal cortex, it wants to get an outcome. It doesn't want to mess around. It wants the outcome. You're doing it for the outcome, and that's kind of a strong intention and a change in energy or an emotional state. That's changing your state of being. When you change your state of being like that every day, get ready because you're going to start having synchronicities and coincidences. Weird things start happening in your life to prove to you that you're actually the creator of your life instead of the victim of your life. I always remind my children that your personality creates your personal reality. To transform something in your life, you must fundamentally examine the thoughts you're entertaining and assess whether they are serving you. Observe the behaviors you're demonstrating and determine if they reflect love towards yourself. Begin to scrutinize the emotions you've ingrained into your identity. Children grasp this concept naturally. Mirror neurons make them more attentive to your actions than to your words. For instance, you can't instruct your kids to clean your room while living in a cluttered space yourself. They will subconsciously and automatically notice the state of your environment. In an interview for this book, someone asked me about the terrible twos. I explained, it's quite straightforward. During the first year of a child's life, you marvel at their cuteness. And then at 1 year old, they start to stand up. Their brain in its neuroplastic state begins to explore. They see a vase and think, wow, look at this. I wonder how it's made. Oh, it holds water. As the child interacts with their surroundings out of curiosity, touching, pulling, and breaking things, You might say, "No, no." You reinforce this for a whole year. Then when they turn 2 and you ask them to put on their shoes, they respond with, "No, no." This is the mirroring behavior of their mirror neurons. Thus, it's clear that children observe more through what they see than what they're told, thanks to their mirror neurons. I delved into the concept of neuroplasticity, discovering that we are not condemned to remain the same throughout our lives. Our brains are malleable, and we possess the power to rewire them. This led me to explore epigenetics, revealing that we are not prisoners of our genes. Instead, we are extraordinary beings capable of profound adaptability and change. We can actively signal new genes and transform our gene expression. As I pondered how the mind influences the body, I immersed myself in psychoneuroimmunology, neurochemistry, and neural hormones. This exploration eventually guided me to quantum physics, where I uncovered how the subjective mind can impact the objective world. My journey into understanding personal transformation began. This initiation, this profound wake-up call, was a turning point. Without it, I wouldn't be here today. Experiencing such profound moments and breakthroughs means you cannot revert to your old self. A transformation of this magnitude fundamentally alters who you are. I embarked on a quest for answers, striving to merge spiritual insights with scientific understanding. In my search, I examined cases of spontaneous remission. I sought to understand if there were individuals with similar conditions who, despite conventional or unconventional treatments, remained stagnant or deteriorated. Then, unexpectedly, they improved. I wanted to uncover the cause behind this remarkable effect. I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people who had some type of spontaneous remission. Over time, I realized that those changes weren't so spontaneous after all. There was some effect. Number one, they all believed that there was an intelligence within them that was giving them life. It was the same intelligence I just talked about, and its function is for balance, restoration, repair, and regeneration. And it is to maintain the body in its balance. All of those biological functions that we take for granted are under the control of the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the automatic nervous system. They all believed that there was some intelligence giving them life. They believed that whatever you want to call that intelligence, they had to take time to begin to make contact with it and to begin to give it a specific design. Just like I did, they had to surrender their creation to this automatic mind that does the healing for us. The second commonality among those who experienced profound changes was their willingness to take responsibility for their own health. They began to ask themselves, what was my state of mind and body that might have contributed to this disease? Whether it was cancer, MS, or a thyroid condition, they reflected on what they had been doing over the past 10 or 20 years that could have influenced their health. They examined their thoughts, their unconscious actions or habits, and how they spoke. They also scrutinized the emotions they lived by and how they might have mismanaged them. This process was crucial because it marked the beginning of breaking the habit of being themselves. They recognized that their unconscious thoughts, feelings, and behaviors had a significant impact on their physical state. They wondered, if I was thinking, acting, and feeling this way, what if I changed my thoughts? What if I altered how I speak and act? Could letting go of certain emotions that tether me to the past and embracing new feelings start to produce a change in my body? Thus, they embarked on a personal journey of transformation, shifting from one state of being to another. And this realization was pivotal for me as well. It became clear that the mind exerts a profound influence on the body. I returned to study neuroscience more deeply and discovered a powerful connection between our thoughts and the chemicals they produce. Each thought generates a chemical response, signaling our body to experience specific emotions. I observed that the hormones of stress narrow our focus on the material world. The activation of these chemicals causes us to fixate on the source of stress, making us more object-focused and materialistic. Stress hormones heighten our senses, increasing our awareness of our body, the environment, and the passage of time. When you've been doing your meditation, I've asked you to take your attention off your body. Go from somebody to a nobody. Take your attention off the people in your life that you identify with. Go from a someone to a no one. No longer think about the objects or things in your life, your cell phone, your computer, your car, or all the elements that you are associating with the known. You're going to go from something to nothing. If you're not thinking about where you're sitting, where you live, where you work, or where you need to be, you're going to go from somewhere to nowhere. If you're not thinking about the predictable future or the familiar past, you're going to go from some time to no time. The act of practicing this and taking your attention off everything known means you are disinvesting all of your attention and energy out of this three-dimensional reality. You are moving away from the known and putting it on the unknown. You have been practicing becoming pure consciousness. It is the act of opening your awareness. When I ask you to open your awareness into the blackness, there's a reason for that. When you go from a narrow focus to a broad focus or an open focus, and you take your attention off the material world and put it on nothing, you are no longer focusing on the known. By broadening your focus and putting it on the unknown, you are tuning into energy and frequency. We learned that when people did this properly, when they broadened their focus and sensed space, the act of sensing space caused them to stop thinking and analyzing. When they stopped thinking and analyzing, they stopped activating those circuits in their brain that were causing their brain to fire incoherently. When they did this properly and sensed instead of thinking and analyzing, they began to change their brain. Let's talk about how they did this. I want to discuss a simple understanding of brainwaves. When you're living by the hormones of stress, your brain moves into a brainwave pattern called high beta brainwaves. High beta is the alarm state or emergency state. It is the aroused state. Normal beta brainwave patterns are what you experience in a state of ease. Right now, as you listen to me, there is no immediate threat. Your brain is engaged in creating meaning, establishing order between the outer world and your inner world. It's tracking a vast array of sensory inputs. Your senses are the gateway to your three-dimensional reality. Imagine if you couldn't see, hear, smell, taste, or feel. Without these senses, you would be disconnected from the experience of this reality. Under normal conditions, when you are relaxed and alert, your brain operates in beta brainwave patterns. However, when stress hormones are elevated, your senses become heightened. In this aroused state, you are compelled to be more vigilant. Your brain is tasked with processing a flood of sensory information, what you see, hear, feel, and smell. This requires significant cognitive effort. If I were to introduce a challenge like a test at the end of this course, your brain would shift into a more alert state. This transition takes you into mid-range beta, and if the stress is intense, high-range beta. High-range beta represents a state of emergency, activating circuits in your brain that are 3 times more intense than those in low-range beta. In this high beta state, your attention shifts rapidly from one concern to another: problems, meetings, past issues, future uncertainties. The brain's activity becomes incoherent, like driving a sports car in first gear on the freeway, leading to a persistent state of stress. We've conducted extensive research, including thousands of brain scans and collaborations with the HeartMath Institute to measure heart coherence. Heart coherence reflects the ability to sustain elevated emotional states. When individuals are immersed in fear, anxiety, resentment, frustration, or impatience, the heart's rhythm becomes chaotic. Yet when we teach individuals to merge a clear, coherent intention with elevated emotions such as gratitude or joy, the heart's rhythm synchronizes. This coherence demonstrates a profound alignment between the brain's intentions and the heart's emotional state, fostering overall well-being. The heart produces a measurable magnetic field. That energy or frequency carries information. We teach our students to use that energy to create a future or change their health. That energy will carry a thought, intention, or message. When that occurs, they begin to change their own expression of electromagnetic signature around their body. When we change our energy, we change our health and our life. We've done thousands and thousands of HRV, heart rate variability measurements. In our workshops, we give our students an HRV device to wear on their chest with a lead. We measure their heart and how it functions over a 24-hour period. When they walk into a meditation and sit down, we start the process. We want to see if they're able to sustain that state for an extended period of time. When we see the changes they make, we know if what they're doing is correct or if they need more information on how to improve. Our students are combining clear intention with elevated emotion, which is beginning to create changes in their biology.